News Express, Edo Goba, Tinubu asked politicians to respect will of voters. Shatima to lead Nigeria's delegation to 79th UN General Assembly. In business, Dangote officials tackle marketers over imported premium motor spirit. On the foreign scene, Saudi rules out restoring diplomatic ties with Israel without Palestine state. And in sports, African universities storm Lagos for Federation of African University Sports game. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Express and Global Television. We're coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nightcomsat. President Bola Tinubu has urged all stakeholders in the Edo State governorship elections to respect the will of the people in their ability to choose their leaders. Tinubu gave the charge in a statement by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga. President Tinubu urges the governorship candidate, political parties and supporters to respect the democratic process and the people's will, while calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and security agencies to be partial in their conduct. President Tinubu said all the parties must endeavor to conduct themselves peacefully and sportingly. President Bola Tinubu has received a report on the recommendations of the Committee on Livestock Reform Implementation in Nigeria. The report was presented to Tinubu at the State House in Abuja by the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Livestock Reform, Professor Atahiru Jega. Kike Lomokere has details.
Speaking to State House correspondents shortly after the meeting with the President, Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Livestock Reform, Professor Atahiru Jega, says the committee was able to identify measures on how Nigerian government can judiciously utilize livestock industry in Nigeria. A review that 152-page document submitted to President Tinubu recommends measures that the government can use to mitigate the farmers-herders clashes across the country. He noted that both ranching and open grazing can coexist in short term until there is enough awareness and adequate infrastructure that will enhance the adoption of full ranching.
We have been able now to produce what we call an inception report, which contains very wide-ranging recommendations as to how our country can tap the potentials of the livestock sector in terms of opening up the value chain in this sector and ensuring that by so doing, we develop all sectors in the value chains to enhance economic growth and development, create jobs, and also ensure that we are not only able to bring about food, feed, and nutrition security, but we are also able to significantly begin to export.
The report of the committee is expected to be made public very soon with a view to getting more input from the public. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Then Bola Tinubu will not attend the 79th United Nations General Assembly session in New York this year. Rather, Vice President Kashim Shettima will lead Nigeria's delegation to the annual summit next week. In a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, said the President has therefore directed Vice President Shettima to lead Nigeria's delegation. According to the release, President Tinubu, who returned to the country last Sunday after his trip to China and the United Kingdom, wants to focus on domestic issues and address some of the country's challenges, especially after the recent devastating flooding. The Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, has approved the proposal by the federal government to settle out of court with a former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onoge, who is challenging his premature removal from office in 2019. The three-man appellate court panel, led by Justice Joseph Oyewole, also gave the parties November 19, 2024, to return to the court with their settlement terms for possible adoption as the judgment of the court in the dispute. At the resumed hearing, Onogen's lawyer, Dr. Ogu Onoja, informed the three-member panel of justices that the two parties were already in discussions about a peaceful resolution of the dispute. Onoja mentioned that the parties had been in discussion up until Wednesday, September 18th. He expressed hope that the discussion would be fruitful and requested a one-month adjournment for the final settlement of the matter. Akwa Ibom State Governor, Pastor Umo Eno, has assured that his administration will sustain the ongoing distribution of food, palliatives across the 31 local government areas of the state to cushion the prevailing socio-economic challenges facing the people. The general manager of the state bulk purchase agency, Uyime Etim, who represented the governor at the palliative disbursement to 5,000 vulnerable persons in 11 wards across 51 villages in Nsit Atai local government area, urged the beneficiaries to maintain peace as government was doing its utmost to salvage the situation. Addressing the beneficiaries at Odot, the headquarters of Nsit Atai Council, the governor observed that the distribution process was smooth, devoid of stampede and violence. Borno State government has realized over 12 billion naira in cash and material donations for victims of the Alao Dam flood disaster in Maiduguri. The senior special advisor and media to Borno Governor Abdurrahman Bundi gave the update on the donations on behalf of Maiduguri Relief Fund in Maiduguri. Bundi said the donations came from corporate entities, state governments, state and National Assembly members, individuals, and non-governmental organizations. Following Nigerian Meteorological Agency's NIMET predictions regarding impending flooding in Kebbi State, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has urged the state government to enforce the resettlement of communities in flood-prone areas. Dr. Daniel Obot, NEMA's zonal director, stressed the need for comprehensive safety plans to protect lives and property. He called for collaboration with local government authorities and stakeholders, as well as community sensitization and necessary precautions. Obot observed the high water levels in rivers across the state and stressed the importance of relocating residents from affected areas. The Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Jibrin, has commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for converting the Federal Colleges of Education in Kano and Zaria to Federal Universities of Education. President Tinubu has approved the conversion of the two FCEs to Federal Universities of Education to enhance the country's education system in line with the Renewed Hope agenda. The Federal Ministry of Education issued memos communicating the approval to the two institutions. Senator Barau, in a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ismail Mudashir, said the conversion would not only increase access to university education, but also enhance teachers' education and the teaching profession in the country. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, says his ministry is working closely with the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and other partners to address the section of the law that criminalizes attempted suicide. A statement from the ministry said the minister made the disclosure during the commemoration of the 2024 World Suicide Prevention Day in Abuja. He said the ministry was also working towards improving the mental health and well-being of Nigerians, assuring that Nigeria would soon join Committee of Nations that have decriminalized attempted suicide. You're watching the News Express on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When News Express returns, Shatima seeks regulatory alignment for improved business environment. Details of this and more after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. If you've just joined us, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcast of the News Express. In business, Vice President Kashim Shettima has called for the alignment of Nigeria's regulatory practices with global standards to enhance the country's business environment. This is according to a statement issued by Special Advisor to the President on Presidential Enabling Business Environment, Council and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, speaking at the inaugural Regulators Forum of the PEBAC at the Presidential Villa. Shettima emphasized the importance of transparency, trust and efficiency among regulatory bodies. The National Pension Commission has generated 20.87 trillion naira under the Contributory Pension Scheme in the third quarter of 2024. The Director General, National Pension Commission, Omolola Oloworonro, made this known while addressing journalists on pension reforms in Abuja. Kike Lomo-Okere has details.
Pension Reform Act aims to address inefficiency in the pension system, necessitating a holistic overhaul. The Director General, National Pension Commission, Omolola Oloworonro, was represented by the Head Corporate Communications National Pension Commission, Ibrahim Buai, laments that 20 years after Pension Reform Act, low pension contribution still poses a challenge to the system. It therefore stressed the need for more stakeholders' engagement, including the media, to enlighten the public on the pension scheme and its futures.
Over 300,000 retirees have continued to receive retirement benefits regularly as and when due. This period, as the implementation has gone on, PENCOM has continues to introduce innovations that would further strengthen and smoothen the implementation of the scheme.
The Executive Secretary, Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, Oguchi Aguda, explained that the Pension Reform Act has contributed over 11 trillion naira pension scheme, ensuring safety and growth.
The public sector has been strong in terms of contributing to the pension scheme, and they've contributed about 5.7 trillion naira over the last 17 years, while the private sector employers have contributed about 5.3 trillion naira. Those are huge sums of money, and that was brought about by the Act. And also that money has been kept safe by the activities of the pension operators. So that has been a plus for the industry, because safety first. The pension funds have ensured that that money is safe.
The Executive Secretary, Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, Chioma Ejikeme, who was represented by the Head Corporate Communication, Olugbenga Ajayi, advocates for the welfare of veterans and pensioners through verified AMA-Life confirmation.
Initiated by the federal government, in collaboration with other sister agencies, will be delivered onto our pensioners.
The theme of the conference, focusing on the 20-year journey of pension reform in Nigeria, highlights the paradigm shift in the pension system, emphasizing the participation of both employers and employees. Kike Lomo-Okere, Global Television News.
Domestic crude oil refiners and officials at the Dangote Petroleum Refinery have kicked against the commencement of the importation of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, by major oil marketers in Nigeria. Oil refiners allege that some imported fuels were of low quality when compared with the ones produced by the Dangote Refinery, a position that was reiterated by officials of the $20 billion Lekki-based plant. It was reported that 3 major oil marketers were expecting vessels of imported petrol this week, barring any unforeseen circumstances. United Kingdom state debt is equivalent to the country's annual output. Data shown as the new government warns of tough decisions on tax and spending ahead of its maiden budget. The Office of National Statistics says in a statement that public sector net debt was provisionally estimated at 100% of gross domestic product at the end of August. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has warned Britons that the budget announcement on October 30th will be painful, with tax rises and spending cuts expected. On the foreign scene, Democratic candidate Kamala Harris held a star-studded rally hosted by talk show legend Oprah Winfrey on Thursday in a bid to dazzle voters. His rival Donald Trump criticized Jewish Americans for not voting for him. The pair hugged as Harris arrived on stage at the rally in Michigan, one of the 7 crucial battleground states that will decide the knife-edge November 5th election. Harris urged Americans to unite against the powerful forces that will try to divide them, represented by Republican former President Trump. Israel has carried out extensive airstrikes on southern Lebanon, targeting positions of the Iranian-backed group Hezbollah. The military say its WAP lanes struck more than 100 rocket launches, as well as a weapons depot. This comes as Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says they are at the start of a new phase of the war. In a significant statement reinforcing Saudi Arabia's long-standing stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has declared that the kingdom will not establish diplomatic relations with Israel until an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital is realized. The statement was delivered during the inauguration of the 9th session of the Shura Council on behalf of the custodian of the 2 holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. He reiterated Saudi Arabia's firm rejection and strong condemnation of the Israeli occupation authorities' crimes against the Palestinian people, which flagrantly violates international and humanitarian law, adding to their long and bitter suffering. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky says he hopes U.S. President Joe Biden will support his plan to end the war with Russia ahead of a trip to Washington. Zelensky has promised to present his so-called victory plan to end the fighting, which has killed thousands, to Biden in the coming days. Zelensky will present the plan to the United States after a summer of intense fighting, with Moscow advancing in eastern Ukraine and Kyiv holding on to parts of Russia's Kursk region. India has dismissed a news report claiming the government failed to prevent European buyers from transferring Indian-made artillery shells to Ukraine. In a story published, Reuters alleged that artillery shells sold by Indian arms makers have been diverted by European customers to Ukraine. The report also alleged that the transfer of ammunition has been ongoing for more than a year, with Delhi taking no action to stop it, despite repeated protests from Moscow. In sports, about 120 universities in Nigeria and 36 others from Africa have started arriving in Lagos for the 11th All-Africa University Games, which is co-hosted by the University of Lagos and Lagos State University from Friday, September 20th to September 29th. The opening ceremony of the event will be held at the Unilag Sports Complex on Saturday as the competition returns to Nigeria for the first time in 20 years. Unilag Vice-Chancellor Professor Folashade Ogunshola says the Games will again project Nigeria's cultural heritage among the community of African universities. Players in the Nigeria Premier Football League say they are looking forward to being invited to the Super Eagles B ahead of the African Nations Championship qualifiers, which begins next month. The Confederation of African Football announced a new date for the 2024 tournament, fixing February 1st to 25th, 2025 for the championship meant for African footballers based in their countries. Eyimba forward Joseph Atule also said the announcement has fueled his desire to keep working hard to fulfill his dream of playing for Nigeria. As we end Global TV News Express, let's take a look at some of our top stories. Edo Gobar, President Tinubu asks politicians to respect the will of voters. Shettima to lead Nigeria's delegation to 79th UN General Assembly. In business, Dangote officials, refiners tackle marketers over imported premium maltose spirit. On the foreign scene, Saudi rules out restoring diplomatic ties with Israel without Palestinian state. And in sports, we told you African universities stumped Lagos for FASU Games. That's it on the News Express, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG, and those now showing on your screen. I am Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching, and see you again.